Hey guys, Techifying. Today I've got another mouse comparison for you guys. A showdown between two Razer mice, the Razer Deathadder Essential and Razer Viper Mini. Two mice which I've reviewed on my channel. Currently the Razer Deathadder Essential is on sale at $30, whereas the Razer Viper Mini is $40. This video may seem like an unusual comparison, since these mice are very different. But that's kind of the point of this video. If you know the differences between these mice, then obviously you don't need to watch it. However, if you just got $40 to spend on a gaming mouse, and you want a Razer one, or just a gaming mouse in general, and you're not sure which one of these is going to be best for you, then make sure you stick around. I'm going to tell you which one has the best performance, and which one will work best with your hand size and grip type. If you find this video helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel. But obviously you've got to watch it first, so guys, let's get into this. First of all, one of those huge differences is the Razer Deathadder Essential has an ergonomic shape, whereas the Razer Viper Mini is semi-ambidextrous. As well, the Razer Deathadder Essential is much bigger. It's 127mm long, 61.7mm wide, and 42.7mm tall at the highest point. On the other hand, the Razer Viper Mini is tiny. It's just 118mm long, 53.5mm wide, and 38.3mm tall. What this means is if you're a palm user, then you should probably go with the Deathadder Essential. The Razer Viper Mini is very hard to palm even if you have very small hands, so you'll be much more comfortable with the Deathadder Essential. For claw and fingertip grip, I'd say fingertip grip, go with the Razer Viper Mini. Its small size makes it much better. My hands are 17cm by 8.5cm and I had no chance of fingertipping the Razer Deathadder Essential. Similarly with claw users, unless your hands are very big, go with the Razer Viper Mini. It's much more comfortable and gives you much more control. If you have particularly big hands and a relaxed claw, then you can use the Deathadder Essential, but if you can do it comfortably, I'd definitely go with the Razer Viper Mini, and you'll see why for plenty of other reasons later in the video. Another key difference is the weight. The Razer Deathadder is a big heavy mouse weighing in at 96 grams, whereas the Razer Viper Mini is an ultralight gaming mouse at just 61 grams. Obviously some people do like a heavier mouse, but personally I love a light mouse. The extra agility and control you feel over the mouse is much better, and therefore I much prefer the Razer Viper Mini's lower weight. As for the sensor, the Deathadder Essential has a maximum DPI of 6400 and a fairly high lift-off distance of 8 playing cards. This led to me feeling a bit of cursor jiggle while readjusting the mouse, and that's not great to game with. The Razer Viper Mini has a bit better sensor. It has a maximum DPI of 8500 and an ever so slightly lower lift-off distance of just 7 playing cards. This means it wasn't completely exempt from any cursor jiggle, however its lower weight meant I could lift it up easier and higher while readjusting the mouse, meaning I experienced less of it in games. In addition to this, the sensor on the Razer Viper Mini just felt that bit more responsive and that just bit better over the Deathadder Essential, and therefore I think it's the better performer in terms of the sensor. In addition to this, the bad sensor on the Deathadder Essential is exacerbated by the terrible feet. They feel like sandpaper and they sound horrible. I just hate the feet on the Deathadder Essential. It makes it feel really horrible to use. On the other hand, the Razer Viper Mini has these much nicer glide skates and it glided much better. I felt much more in control and it complemented the sensor nicely and made it feel nice and precise and accurate. The cable also doesn't do the Deathadder Essential any favours. It's really stiff, it's a braided cable and it's just a terrible cable. It meant you got pushback and drag and things like that, and it was a terrible experience to use. On the other hand, Razer's SpeedFlex cable on the Viper Mini is much better. It's much looser and more flexible, and especially in a moused bungee, I had absolutely no issues with drag or pushback or anything like that. Once again, the primary clicks on the Razer Viper Mini are better. You can tell it's a newer mouse with much better technology, and Razer's optical switches don't feel too bad. The ones on the Deathadder Essential had a bit of pre-travel and just felt really not nice to use. Here's a sound test of the left click on the Deathadder Essential and the right click. Then for comparison, the primary mouse clicks on the Viper Mini, which I preferred a lot. Here's the left click and the right click. For the side buttons, the winner is not as clear cut. I personally prefer the Viper Minis, but I can understand why you would like the bigger, easier to press side buttons on the Deathadder Essential. They do suit the bigger mouse as you have more surface area to put your thumb elsewhere. But personally, I still prefer the feel of the ones on the Viper Mini. For the scroll wheel, it's not up for debate in my opinion. The Deathadder Essential just feels bad. it's just bad. I felt myself double scrolling, it had a horrible feel and I didn't like it, and it had quite a bit of rattle to it. Once again, the Viper Minis was much better. I didn't find myself double scrolling in games or anything like that, and it's definitely got the better scroll wheel out of the two. If you have either of these mice, please let me know what you think about it in the comments, and if you have a Deathadder Essential, I'm sorry I'm being so harsh on it, but it's not a very good mouse, especially in 2020. Finally, for the lighting and software, the Razer Viper Mini has a single RGB zone, so it can only be one colour at once. It doesn't have any of the cool effects like the SteelSeries Rival 3, but it does have this nice light bar and looks fairly nice. On the other hand, the Deathadder Essential is only green, has very limited effects, and there's also no way to change the DPI directly on the mouse, meaning you must have Razer Synapse software. Obviously they both use Razer Synapse software, so there isn't a better piece of software, but obviously you do get a lot more customization with the Razer Viper Mini. From this comparison, I think it's pretty clear that if you have the $40 to spend, go for the Razer Viper Mini. The Deathadder Essential is really not a very good mouse. The only time I can consider recommending it is if you have really big hands or you're a palm user. For claw and fingertip users, small hand sizes, and people who want a better gaming experience, definitely go with the Razer Viper Mini. It will perform much better and feel much better, and I definitely recommend it. It's a much better option than the Deathadder Essential. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and even consider subscribing to the channel. If you want to look as cool as me, and I know you do, you can get yourself some merch at techify.co.uk/merch. For your next video, I'd check out the review of the Viper Mini or one of the comparisons with it, such as the Viper Mini versus the HK Gaming Mirror S, another 61-gram small ultralight gaming mouse. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.